This week, we welcome back Omar de Frias from Fratello Cigars. Stace Berkland will join us as a guest host in addition to Will Cooper, who'll both be on the lines via Skype from North Carolina. Cigar dinners are the topic for Debonair Ideal. Our hot topics this week, we're going to talk about the death of Fidel Castro and maybe a little bit of politics as it relates to Cuba as we move into a new presidential, new president, which will be coming into office. So that'll be interesting. Stogies of the Week is going to be interesting. I have not done a show in some time. I have lots and lots of cigars to talk about. I had to smoke a lot of Padrones for this review. Poor me, I know. All that and more. So stay tuned. This is a Security Weekly production. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where cigars burn slow, ashes fall fast, and cocktails flow steady. It's the Stogie Geeks Show.
Brought to you by Bombay Cigars represent the most admired cigar culture of Cuba. They select the best of the best quality tobacco to use in the aging process. Bombay cigars are then rolled in Costa Rica by some of the most experienced cigar rollers, giving it a unique smoking experience. The band portrays a detailed and artistic nature of our small industry. Try the Bombay Casera, the Bombay Mora, and the recently released Bombay Habano. Bombay Cigars, where the cigar is a way of life. And by Punch Cigars. For more information, check them out at www.punchcigars.com.
Welcome, everyone, to the Stogie Geek Show. I'm your host, Paul Asadorian, broadcasting live from Villiger North American Studios here in Rhode Island. On the lines via Skype, we've got our two very special co-hosts this evening. Mr. Will Cooper and Stace Berkland join us. Welcome, guys.
Hey, who is this?
What?
Who's on the line here?
Oh, this is Paul. I'm back. I got my Brady jersey on just to piss people off. I'm back.
Yeah. So there were rumors that you were kidnapped by zombies on Halloween.
Oh, God.
There were rumors you went to Australia for Uggs. There were rumors you just went on a quest for cigars. But no, very, very glad to have you back tonight here.
Well, the Uggs are easy. I just order those online. Not that I wouldn't want to visit Australia, though. Okay. But yeah, it was just a weird thing. Like, there was Halloween, and then I had some family stuff to deal with, and then I was sick. I had a cough. Last week I was scheduled to be on the show. I was all ready, and I'm like, I can't even get out a sentence without, like, hacking up a lung. And so smoking cigars and having a cough does not go together. As I noticed on Facebook, some of our Facebook cigar smoker friends who will remain nameless, but one's like, yeah, I had pneumonia, and the other one was like, yeah, I had bronchitis, and I'm like, that's bad. So I took it easy on smoking at various points to give my lungs some time to recover. But now I'm almost fully recovered. You might hear me hacking a little bit during this show. I've got like that never-ending cough. It's been going around here in Rhode Island. So. Yep.
No, but it's kind of funny. I did see you actually in your app because you actually came down to Charlotte a few weeks. Did get to smoke one. And
went to JR's. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was good.
That was very good.
Yeah.
What do we smoke? You want to introduce I can introduce our guest. I'm smoking a Fratello cigar.
We're all smoking a Bianco, I believe.
No, this isn't is it?
Oh, you're smoking the original.
No, this is the original. Yeah. And the original Omar de Frias is here with us. No stranger to Stogie Geeks Show. Omar, welcome back to Stogie Geeks, my friend. How are you?
Good, man. I'm glad you're recognizing me tonight.
I will never live that down, ever.
That's awesome, man. It's been good. It's good to come back, man, and talk to you guys. Get a chance to talk cigars and talk politics. I'm all in on all those things. You know what I mean? You got to be careful nowadays, though. People are so sensitive to all of these different subjects, different things.
I stick to the facts, and the fact is, Omar, that you and I are now in this club that Will is not in. have made the decision to leave our day jobs and pursue our passions. Will, you got to catch up here, dude. What's up?
Come on now, Will. Come on now.
Do it, Will. Do it.
No. What I'm taking the other option. I'm just going like the 80-hour double shift right now, which I know you guys have lived. So
Oh yeah.
That I do need to at some point, but yeah.
Yeah, so Omar, it's funny when I saw the news, I was like, yes, me and Omar in the club now. I love it. I'm in good company. So so what was your day job?
Dude, well, I've been here actually quite a couple of times. We had this conversation where, people would ask me, for the past 3.5 years, what in the world am I doing? Where, I seem like I'm full time with cigars, and I am, and people ask me about my day job. So, like I said before, I used to work for NASA in Washington D.C. Now, this is the first time I actually said I used to work for NASA in Washington D.C. Before it was I worked for NASA in Washington D.C. and I was able to pull a 40-plus hour a week job with Fratello as well, going to sleep very late. So I know those 80-plus hours very well, Coop. And now it's just a matter of what do we do? What do we do going forward? You know what I mean? It gets us so excited about so many things. I wake up on a Monday morning, and instead of having to, go to work, I get a chance to get a quick workout and get my day organized around Fratello. And so it's like somebody literally just opened up an entirely different world where my brain was processing it close to 30 to 40%, during the entire week when it came down to Fratello, and now all of a sudden it's like 100%. So my processing power went through the roof. My Mbps went from 30 to 100 Mbps, and you know what I'm talking about. It's just everything seems so clear now. Things that used to be a different way before when I was working for NASA, and now it's just like spending the full time on Fratello is just. It's amazing. My God, it's amazing.
But I'm sure you have those days like I do, like where you don't know where to begin. You're like, oh my God, I can focus all my efforts here. Like I don't even know where to begin. And you spend a lot. I at least spend a lot of time kind of like prioritizing. Like, there's so many things that I want to do, and then you start to develop a little bit of a focus and realize that this was a full-time job you were trying to do part-time, and now you've got more on your plate and you got to prioritize, which is important.
I'll tell you. I'll expand a little bit on that, on how crazy it is to literally. I don't see myself slowing down. I'm still putting in 85 plus hours a week on Fratello. It's just focused on one thing.
Right.
So the difference between obviously having to wake up on a Monday morning and go to an event and thinking that if I send that email to my boss, are we going to get a continuous resolution this year? I mean, all budget terms and all, did we go to that program review and submitted, the findings on it? There's so many things that were going through your brain. Now, all of a sudden, I can get a chance to organize my day around Fratello. And so I experienced something very similar to what you did. I actually had to organize my day around meetings to sort of get myself into sort of this mindset that it's just I'm not just going to do whatever I want to do, but in more of an organized fashion. And so I'm an organized individual by itself. I just need to make sure that there was a schedule and there was a practice. You know what I mean? It's not all of a sudden I'm going to start waking up at 8:30 in the morning because I can. The only problem I have is with my new boss, man. Every time I ask him for a raise, every time I ask him for a vacation, he always says no.
That's it.
I give him great feedback all the time. It's like, dude, you look so good. Amazing, best boss I've ever had. But every time I ask vacation or a raise, man, never happens.
Never happens. So are you working from your house? Do you have an office or?
Yeah, so I work from home, and we got a warehouse in Springfield that that we tend to every single day, obviously. But it's much easier, obviously, to work from home and do it. I haven't made the warehouse into an office yet, because I don't, it's too convenient. You know what I mean? And anyways, I'm on the road, 4 days out of 7 days, so it doesn't matter to me that much.
Right.
It's even when I'm local, I'm actually visiting shops as well in the evening, so it doesn't really matter to me.
I got you. So do you smoke at home in your home office or?
No, I don't.
But it sounds like you spend a lot of time in cigar lounges when you're traveling and stuff, and that's when you get your smoking time in.
even today I was at a shop, you know what I mean? And so even in my local market, and I've got a very interesting strategy now to tackle some of my local shops as I get them to grow a whole different level with shops that I haven't even been there in years. You know, all of a sudden now the guys are saying, "Oh, Omar, you know, it's been so ever, da, da, da." And so now you get a chance to spend a little bit more time on a Monday or a Tuesday where I would never be there because I would leave NASA around 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night.
I didn't understand, and I don't think a lot of people understand, like, how important that FaceTime is. I mean, we live in a world full of technology, and where everyone can work from home, and we can do Google Hangouts and email and all of this stuff. But the value from FaceTime in cigars is important. Even in my other business of computer security, I kind of underestimated it. I was like, well, most people must have found out about the show because of technology and searching. But a lot of people, man, heard of my shows, both my shows, in cigars and security. They're like, oh, yeah, man, I met you at a conference. And those are the most loyal listeners. And you've been the shining example of that, I think, in the cigar industry, where just getting out and meeting people, it means so much. I don't think people really understand, like, how much that means.
It really does. It really does, man. And it's surprising how we still, to this day, man, and people, it's a very old school approach to this business that it's, and Will asked me this question the first time that I came on the show, and I still remember. It's like, you know, that he asked me about the Fratello Road and what that entailed. Because he was curious about, you know, what is that thing that I'm trying to do versus instead of going, you know, with an in-house guy and getting them on the road or going with a broker to introduce my cigars to consumers, I was doing it by myself. And so I do understand the great value that it does bring, and somehow I still make it out and see all my clients at least one or twice a year. So that's good for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I mean, a cigar's a cigar, right? But it's something about when you meet the person behind the brand and you've met them and you're like, wow, that person is really cool. Like, I want to smoke their cigars. Like, they're really cool. I feel like people give your cigars more of a chance when they've met you firsthand. I think I've been guilty of that too. I mean, I think we should give everyone's cigars a fair chance. But I feel like the people that I've met in person, we've had a cigar together, Omar. We've talked about your brand and your blends and all of that stuff. I feel like I give those people more of a fair chance. It's probably biased because I'm in the media, and I do give other cigars more of a fair chance because of my role in the industry. But I feel like consumers are going to give you. They may not like the first cigar they smoke from you, but they're like, like I met Omar at a cigar lounge, and he was so cool. Like, I want to try a couple more of his cigars, and they end up finding one that they like. Whereas if they hadn't met you, they may not put in that effort. And I feel like that's one of the real big value for face to face.
Yeah, Omar, I mean, there's a few guys, we were talking to Fred Rui a couple weeks ago, and I think both of you guys were emblematic of this grassroots building of the brand, where you've combined it with, you know, some social media and this face-to-face thing, and I think this is why both of you guys are seeing the fruits of your rewards right now because of this.
And Fred's social media, if you like meat, Fred's social media and Facebook page in particular is the one that you want to follow, man. He is all about the meat. It's awesome.
It's about that bacon too, man. That's
bacon. It's all about the bacon.
Yeah, you know, he cannot get McRib though. By the way, that's been a little bit of controversy.
That's right.
You know, you're right, Coop. I mean, I don't consider myself really good on social media as much as I wish I was. And I spend too much time on the road. And so I try to post, I try to connect, and I always say thank you when somebody posts, because I do think it's the most effective way of connecting with the end consumer. So I try my best to do a great job, but I think in my approach, that's why my line of cigars, guys, I've never been a very trendy, you know, crazy on buying through websites or anything like that. Like, you know, 93% of all my sales really come from brick and mortar shops, and it's a testament to the work of the road. You know what I mean? It's if I assume that I would spend more time, you know, hitting social media or hitting, you know, every single channel as I possibly could, then yeah, that would make sense. But when you're spending every single week on the road, it's hard. It's very, very hard to do that.
But it's rewarding though, right? When you do that, I mean, from a retail perspective, I mean, the brands that have an ambassador are the brands that are winning in the shops. I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with that.
So Omar, what you got new cigars that were released this year, or ones that you're working on, or like what's going on with your?
We actually we're starting the launch of this week. We're shipping out Fratello Oro, which we have been dying to get. We had a couple of delays, not something too big. We had about a month or so delay, which it's more than I care to reckon for my program management background.
Yeah, but that's not. I was going to say you were organized and you work for NASA. You must have been a project manager. That was right in my guess on that. Yeah.
Exactly right. I have a program manager, and so it's more than I care to reckon, but it was still fine. I mean, people, a lot of my clients have, when I send them the email, it's like, hey guys, we got a month delay on our cigars, and everybody was very understanding. So it was
that's fine. I mean, you can survive from that. It's interesting. I was reading about. I follow various startups, right? We have actually an entire show on startups in security. And I was reading about some of the ones that have done these Kickstarters that are based on like sourcing hardware and like a month delay, dude, you're like in good shape. Some of these companies have awesome ideas and awesome technology, but they can't even, after a year, can't like fund and get product in people's hands because of sourcing and delivery problems. I'm glad that I don't see that problem in a huge way in the cigar industry at all. So a month delay is just probably like logistics issues here or there, but you can recover from that and get your cigars in people's hands, which we appreciate because you make great cigars. So,
thank you. Well, actually, Oro blew my mind at the show.
I haven't smoked Oro, so I mean, it could be a dog rocket, but I'm imagining with your reputation, Omar, that it's probably a really good cigar. But I haven't smoked it yet.
No, I mean it truly was. It was very successful, guys, because we did a very unique blend, and people really had a chance to connect with it. We didn't have crazy, an enormous amount of samples at the show, so very few people actually had a chance to smoke it, and a lot of them were to a really top accounts, and people were just trying it, and they would come back, man. And what I did see in Oro that I didn't see in Fratello Bianco, which was to me was very interesting, were how the orders were being placed. I probably doubled my orders from Bianco, which was released last year with 3 sizes, to what we did in 2016 with Oro. So basically double my reorders on Oro. And I would ask people, it's like, what is it about this? I mean, I didn't comprehend it. I thought my branding was spot on Bianco. I thought the cigar was amazing. I still think it's amazing. It's one of those cigars that when people get a chance to try it, they usually see the red label, and so they connect more with the red label. But all of a sudden they see Fratello Bianco, and they see how savory that wrapper combination with the filler of that cigar is. People go crazy over it. I mean, last night I got a message from one of my top accounts in Virginia, Gary Pash, sending me a text about the Fratello Bianco Oro. It's like, Omar, this is outstanding. I'm sorry, the Fratello Bianco boxer, and says just this was outstanding. And it's like, I mean, it's just very, very tasty. So we released what we did a bit versus the year before in 2015 to what we did this year, which was very interesting. It was double the orders, which enhanced, helped with the transition of leaving NASA and doing this full time.
So like, how do you figure out like why the Oro was more? Was it just because you're now focused in the? I mean, that probably had something to do with it, right? Is it a branding and marketing thing with Bianco? Do people think it's like a mild cigar, and they're like, because it's white label, they think like Monte Cristo white in the back of their minds, and they're like, oh, it's going to be a mild cigar, and I'm not into that kind of thing. Like, what?
It was a Connecticut. It was a Connecticut. It really was. It was a Connecticut. I do think that the amount of sizes that I released that also played a role, because people were choosing, instead of choosing 3 sizes, which is all I released on Bianco, I released Bianco 1, 2, and 3. I think is what stays loop is what they're smoking right now. Instead of releasing in 3 sizes, I released it in 6 sizes. I think that played a role in increased sales, and I also think that the fact that we launched our first Connecticut shade, which is undoubtedly one of the best-selling wrappers in the United States of America, played a role as well. So I think the combination of those two actually helped us tremendously.
So is that what the Oro is, your Connecticut shade?
Yeah, Yeah, so Oro is a new Connecticut shade from Ecuador. Cameroon binder, that's delicious. Not cheap for me, but beautiful Cameroon binder. Colombian tobacco, Dominican, Nicaragua, it's delicious.
Colombian tobacco, really?
Yeah.
That's not very popular, as far as I know. We don't cover a lot of cigars that have Colombian tobacco in it. Will, correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, we don't. Yeah, I mean, there's a handful. I mean, at most, it's not very common. Omar, but you went to a different factory to do this cigar.
I did. Yeah. I've always been an admirer of La Aurora factory. It's actually where I started. Where I was when I started thinking about who was going to actually produce our cigars. I actually went down to the Dominican Republic first because I'm Dominican, right? I mean, it's what I'm more versed with, and I know the country well. I know the people, so it was the right approach. Everything obviously ended up working out where I ended up going to Joya de Nicaragua to work with our cigars. But it was very unique how I started. The first cigars was an Leon Jimenez that I actually ever tried. And so this was back in 2017. I mean, I loved the person that brought me in to roll those cigars was from the La Aurora factory as well. So there is some history with me with this factory. And I've been a fan. One of the most favorite blends that they do was that original 100 Años. I thought it was one of the best cigars I've ever had in my life. I quite honestly still think it is. It's just so much flavor, so much balance, and they do a really good job. And they got good inventory. They got great rollers, and so I saw
that Manuel Inoa guy. He's okay.
To do this together.
That Manuel Inoa guy, yeah, he's just okay, right?
I know you love him. I saw him at your store the other day.
He's awesome. I took a selfie with him. Recently, he was here recently. I saw him. He was
popped over next to one. Yeah, I remember after the show.
He's the man. I've learned a lot about cigars and blending and in the whole process from Manuel. Certainly, one of my idols in the industry. So you chose a great factory, obviously. Now you said you smoked the Leon Jimenez. That's a Connecticut, really mild cigar. Did you take that into consideration when you were doing your Connecticut shade, or you just smoked that cigar and liked it and said, I want one more kind of feather in the cap of La Aurora, you wanted to work with them?
Manuel and I sat down last year and we started breaking down a lot of different kinds of Connecticut's that I personally appreciate in the industry. And when we started working on the tobaccos, I was very clear about what I wanted to do. I wanted a very, very flavorful, solid, mild to medium, with different stages on the cigar. I wanted to sort of differentiate a little bit. That's why we probably worked a little bit with that Colombian tobacco, which made a big difference. And also that Cameroon binder actually made it to that, very creamy, very nice aftertaste, velvety finish to a dry fruit kind of notes, which I thought were amazing.
Omar, what does the Colombian tobacco add in your opinion, having blended the cigar? How would you describe what the Colombian tobacco brings to this blend?
It's dry fruit, man. It's like it's like that dry fruit note that it came alive to me when we put that Colombian tobacco inside, versus more Piloto Dominicano, which was what we were thinking of going with. Because we had about 3 or 4 cigars that I thought were great, but they didn't have this differentiating factor, which was something that people could really pick up. Like, I'll give you an example of the Fratello original blend. There is a note that not a whole lot of people have been able to pick up, and I think actually Coop was able to pick up on it one time we were talking, and it's got this cinnamon note. It's got a cinnamon aftertaste that is freaking delicious, and not a whole lot of people can pick up on it. But if you sit down and you smoke that blend, it's a very clear note. And so for me, in our cigars, I love clear notes. I mean, I appreciate complexity in cigars just like I appreciate complexity in my wines. The best way I describe complexity in wines is when you can really tell what's happening with the notes that you're receiving, right? It's like, I can't tell if it's this or I can't tell if it's that, but they're all those flavors are playing very well in your mouth. I appreciate that, but I do love precise notes, and that's exactly what that Colombian tobacco did.
But you got to be careful with these precise notes, Omar, because it can be very polarizing to the consumer. Right.
Right.
I've smoked some cigars, like yours, for example. I'm like, yes, I like the flavor profiles that these cigars are presenting to me. And there's obviously lots of other ones I reviewed on the show, thousands and thousands of different cigars.
Right.
But there are some that there's not a lot of complexity, and they present this flavor, and I'm like, wow, I'm just not digging that flavor. And you got to be careful because you never know what people are going to like or not like. And maybe something you like, maybe something I like, and we create Omar and Paul cigar, and we're the only two people in the friggin' world that like it. And that's good for us as people in general enjoyment, but it doesn't make us a whole lot of money either, right?
I still find great pleasure in saying with a big smile that I always blend cigars that in worst case scenario nobody enjoys. I can love for a long time.
Right.
Because we don't go easy on production. We kick production to a high gear. So I say, hey, at least I gotta love it. And if other people don't, then at least I got a cigar that
that's
I can that's my life.
And that's fine, but obviously there's a risk in doing and one of the reasons I say this is because I'm going to review a cigar. It is the most gorgeous looking cigar. It's smoked beautifully in every aspect. I just didn't like the flavor, like at all. I did not like the flavor at all. And I'm saddened by that. Like it was every indication that I should love this cigar, but it was just the flavor just didn't hit me. Do you get concerned? Like, does that keep you up at night? Like, holy crap, what if other people smoke this and they don't like it? Maybe not. I mean, maybe not. It has to be a really polarizing flavor.
I was pretty confident. I was less confident with actually with the original because it was. I'm telling you, I personally loved it. I wasn't sure what people were going to expect about the original. I just knew how tasty it was. You know what I mean? And so when you create anything, when you're working on creating your own blends or you're working on creating your own beer things, it's hard to think about anybody else. I mean, I'm not saying that I was
you're right.
completely naive about not saying that, hey, I wanted a medium body cigar, which, or nothing way too medium to full or anything like that, which would be a smaller, part of the market. But that's not my flavor profile either. That's not my strength, profile either. I'm a medium body all day long, and so it's I wasn't too afraid about Fratello Oro, quite honestly. I know that cigar is going to be at a whole different level.
It seems like Connecticut's are like the thing now. Did that play into creating the Connecticut?
No, I just knew I needed to come out with a Connecticut blend that I would personally be able to get really behind. You know what I mean? I played with it for a long time with Joya Nicaragua, and we sat down, and the bitterness on that wrapper, my God, I just cannot. It's I couldn't take it out of. We couldn't blend it out of it. You know what I mean? It is because it is a bitter wrapper. But there's when we sat down with Manuel and we sat down on all of these different blends and said, hey, what do you think about this and stuff like that? It was a no-brainer for me to release it. So I didn't really think about too much of what was hot or not. I just knew I wanted a Connecticut shade Ecuadorian wrapper on our portfolio.
Well, we'll see what I think of it, Omar. I can't wait to smoke it. I'm very hopeful that I'm going to give it high reviews. I am probably I smoke probably more Connecticut's than many other reviewers, I think, in the industry. I'm pretty critical of Connecticut's.
There you go.
But I search them out. I smoke every single one that I can that comes on the market to find ones that go in my regular rotation. And I can tell you, you mentioned before, you have Connecticut's that are held in high regard. I'll give you a little secret. Mine are from E.P. Carrillo. I love his New Wave Reserva in the Toro size, and I love the one that came out in his Ernesto's Humidor. Those are ones, like I smoke those all the time. There are lots of other Connecticut's I smoke, but those are the ones that I always go back to. So it's a lot of fun, I think, smoking a lot of the Connecticut's. I like to do the early morning smoking. I wish that in general more cigar smokers had a deeper appreciation for Connecticut cigars. I think the tides have turned a little bit. I think a lot more people, this is just my general observation, are coming on to Connecticut cigars, and there's people like E.P. Carrillo and A.J. Fernandez and a lot of other blenders that have come out with Connecticut's that I think appeal to a wider base of people, a wider base of cigar smokers. So I hope your cigar does the same thing and appeals to those people who may be on the fence and people like me who are pretty critical of their Connecticut cigars and want to smoke something good every time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's there's a thin line between producing a Connecticut that is a very, very full body Connecticut, and a couple of guys have tried it. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of a big full body. You have to really play with that well. I agree with you on EPC, man. That was spot on with that New Wave Reserva. That was really good Connecticut, and that was one of the ones that when I smoked, I was like, man, this is really hitting the spot.
Yeah, I think he's one of the ones that redefined for me the Connecticut.
Yeah,
certainly, and didn't go. It's interesting because, like you said, you can kind of go way off the rails, right? And I liked smoking those ones that were kind of way off the rails, right? And then you get back into like the really super mild ones, and I mean, there's a time and a place for those, but it's some of those ones in the middle. Right? Like, if I'm in the mood for really spicy, full-body Connecticut, that's rare occasion. If I'm in the mood for something, like, really super mild, it means I'm up at 5 in the morning and I'm lighting up a cigar. There are special occasions for that. They're few and far between. But the ones that fall in the middle that have that flavor and body and smoothness and creaminess and just deliver every time, that's like a more elite set. And I think it's a more difficult thing to do with that Connecticut. Not that I'm a master blender, but I know certain things, like the Connecticut wrapper can be bitter, and to overcome some of those things and produce something in that middle ground is difficult. So we'll see where you fall, Omar.
You come to Rhode Island, okay?
Yeah. Well, if you're here, I'm gonna be like, it's great. Omar's got like a 1.5 feet on me. I'm like, no, it's great. It's a great cigar, Omar.
and now you know who he is, at least.
Now I know who he is.
Thank you, Will.
Will, States, you have more questions for Omar? I've been grilling him on this Connecticut.
I wanted to pick your brain a little bit, Omar. I apologize. I haven't smoked a lot of the Bianco, but I've smoked a couple. Will was able to give me some smoked it here. Talk to me a little bit about what you did here, different from your original blend.
I wanted to play with a lot of different kinds of tobacco. That's why I told Joya de Nicaragua. It's like, I want to play with multiple kinds of tobacco, see what kind of flavor profiles we get just by blending, San Andreas with Dominican Piloto. I want to see what USA Pennsylvania broadleaf does when you combine it with Nicaraguan Estelí, and what you do when you blend a little bit of Pelo de Oro Peruvian, and see what all of these different flavor profiles, what kind of things you tend to go. The first thing for me is always, what kind of wrapper do I really want to work with? You know what I mean? And I obviously knew I wanted to work with the San Andreas. I've never been a crazy fan of that wrapper, because I think it takes and overpowers so much flavor in a cigar. And I needed to find a way to just bring that flavor profile way down and just really have the filler and the binder really come alive while still playing a role. And that's exactly what we did, Stace. We grabbed that. So I wanted to work with that wrapper, but I wanted to play with different flavor profiles and different tobacco. So for me, it was very, it ain't rocket science really. It's Viso, Ligero, and Seco, but it is very complicated when it comes down to actually tasting and seeing how it goes when you're smoking it in Nicaragua, when you're smoking it at that dinner, after going to the factory, when you're smoking it in the morning, when you're smoking it over here, and you're smoking so many different iterations. And so we went through a lot. That cigar for us to come out with that particular blend was probably the hardest one out of the entire line, and we spent way over a year working on the different iterations just for that blend. You can't just put 5 different kinds of tobacco together and see how it goes and then start smoking it. You know what I mean? It actually took us a long time. But you tell me, what do you think about it so far?
So, when we met back in 2013, right, I fell in love with the Habano, right? The Corona Gorda size. I love that stick. I smoked it till I was green in the face, right? I just wouldn't put it down. So I wasn't sure what to expect with this, because it was going Maduro. So I was like, is he going to go stronger? Is he going to go milder? Where's he going with that? And I picked it up, and to me, it's a little bit dialed back. It's not as strong as the Habano was, in my opinion. So I didn't know, was that a strategic direction to maybe dial it back a little bit, or what?
Actually, I was looking to dial it back up a little bit. So its strength to me is so subjective. I've had guys that have thought about my Habano Nicaraguan as a mild to medium smoke, and I've had guys that are characterize that as a medium to full body cigar. I actually do think it's a medium body plus.
I can see that, though. I can see more seasoned smokers because I'm smoking your original Fratello now, and I can see that people are like, yeah, I'm gonna light this up for breakfast. Like some people just have that palate where they're like, yeah, if it's medium body, like I can light it up for breakfast.
Dude, I've seen this I do 2 events every single week, man, and the smokers I see out there telling me that this is a mild to medium smoke, it blows my mind. But it is, people's palates and people's ability to handle strength has changed, because of the outpour and the amount of different kinds of cigars are getting out there with a very, very high strength factor. I'm not a fan, but I know a lot of people are. But in terms of Bianco, I was really looking for more from medium to full body. It came out more medium than I thought. Because of the flavor profile. Again, I don't look too much in strength when we're working with tobaccos. I'm looking for flavor. However, when you smoke a Bianco boxer, because dude, we put 2 different kinds of Ligero. It's got Ligero Esteli and Ligero Pennsylvania broadleaf. When you smoke that boxer all the way down, there is a little bit of after effect. I mean, I quite honestly feel it's a medium to full body. It just depends on the Vitola. I think it works more. I think you get a little bit more of that strength factor on the Bianco boxer and the Bianco number 1 than you do with the Bianco number 2 and the Bianco number 3.
I agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And one, you made a point, and this is why I've really gravitated to your Bianco. This wrapper does not overpower the blend, is what I'll tell you. And that's been my criticism of San Andreas. In fact, I was a little biased towards it when I first started doing the show, and I've come around on it because I've seen that there are blends that can be done. And this was a textbook example of that. And this was right in my sweet spot for what I look for a San Andreas. It has a little bit of that Mexican hot chocolate taste, I call it. A little spice to it. Got the chocolatey notes in there. I would agree it was probably... I think it did come down a little, Omar, in several months. I think it was close to that medium to full, and I had it. Now it's probably on the upper end of medium, is what I would say.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, but it's still... that's not a negative. I think this cigar is responding extremely well to age, which is something we look for on the show a lot. And this is a cigar that is definitely performing with age right now.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I've been smoking. I try to keep a good portion of cigars every time I release them. I keep about 3 or 4 boxes of every time we get a new shipment to make sure that I can smoke it and go back to it and stuff like that. So I do believe that it has dialed back. I still think it's more of a medium body plus, but man, people subjective right now to a mild to medium cigar, never surprises me. What I do tell people a lot when they smoke this San Andreas, expect a lot of expect your smooth, very, very smooth smoke with an enormous amount of flavor. That's how I sell it to our guys on the road. And people, when I tell them this, and I tell them look for those things, and then look for just different layers of complexity. Look for different kinds of tobacco. What this tobacco is doing versus this tobacco. People really get a chance to get into it, and they actually have had a chance to get into it more on this cigar, on the Bianco, than they have on the original. Because the original is very set forward. I mean, it's very tasty. You got a nice spice, a nice pepper at the beginning, very creamy in the middle, pepper coming back at the end. So they all play through each other very, very well. And that Habano Nicaragua is just delicious. That's why the reason the Fratello Lancero is such a flavor bomb. It's just that wrapper is just, it overpowers in so much flavor that it's ridiculous.
I will say, I haven't the opportunity to say how much I like the Bianco, from Omar. And the reason I'm smoking the original blend is because the Biancos that are in my humidor, I've smoked them all. I just haven't said that in this segment. Like I really do love that. It's a Maduro that doesn't smoke like a traditional Maduro that I think people.
Yeah, good point.
And a lot of people that I speak to that are avid cigar smokers have this thing where they're like, I don't like Maduro. And then some of the more mature ones, like Will, a while back, was like, the San Andreas Maduro, like, I'm not a big fan. And I think that's come a long way. And blenders such as yourself, Omar, have really done great things with that wrapper. And it truly is, to me, like a Maduro that doesn't smoke like a Maduro that you think in that traditional sense. So, people should definitely give it a chance for sure.
Hey, Omar, real quick. I know you're a serious wine connoisseur and coffee connoisseur as well. So I want to pick your brain on when you were working with the Mexican San Andreas wrapper. What in the back of your mind were you thinking about in terms of pairings?
You know, I got a love-hate relationship with wine and cigars. I feel like with wine, and Stacey and I have talked about this before, man, ports all day long.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
I have tried it with other things. I have tried it with caps, and it just leaves my mouth too dry. I knew what I was getting into when I tried the different things, but poured all day long. There's no question about that. With Bianco, I got to tell you the truth. I wasn't thinking about any particular pairing. I know it works amazingly well with a Nabra 16. My Callan 12 does great things with that particular blend. But I'm an avid rum drinker, man. So I'm always going to be looking for our cigars to have a nice pairing with some rum, man. And when it comes with Kirk and Sweeney, I had it the other day, which is a beautiful rum coming out of the Dominican Republic, and I paired it with Fratello Bianco, the Bianco number 3, which is even smoother than the rest of my line. Dude, it came alive, and so I'm getting on a big kick for rum lately and comparing it with a lot of our blends.
I tell you what, though, in terms of pairings for myself, we haven't talked about this on the show. I haven't been on the show in a while, but we haven't talked about pairings a lot on the show. And I don't know if anyone's tried pairing a Fratello with this particular spirit. On Thanksgiving, we had champagne. And I tell you what, I took some champagne and I paired it with a cigar, and I'm like, wow. I remember people telling me that champagne pairs well with cigars, and I remember actually drinking champagne with cigars like years ago, and I just don't drink a lot of champagne. But it was Thanksgiving, and we were making mimosas. We're making mimosas. Yeah, we're making mimosas, and then we're mixing. I decided to go back to a recipe that I had from a few years ago and mix wheat beer with champagne, which is like I took all the guy's mimosa, and that was awesome. And I paired a cigar with champagne, and I was like, wow. I forgot how good in it. I think it's one of the most, in my opinion, and I've paired a lot of things with cigars. I think it's one of the most forgiving pairings. Really, a lot of the different champagne, I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but it's really a very forgiving pairing. Really, any cigar goes good with a lot of different champagnes. Stace, I don't know, you have experience with pairing champagne?
I like pairing certain cigars with champagne. Where I was going with the question, though, was back on the original blend. My go-to for your original Fratello with the Habano wrapper, for me, it is port. And my favorite, Graham's makes a 30-year tawny. And when you pour it, it's bourbon color brown. It's a wonderful, wonderful pairing, and your cigar just is a wonderful pairing for that. I haven't smoked any Fratellos with the champagne, so I don't have any experience there, but I will try that because I do like playing with champagne.
It makes a lot of sense, though. I mean, champagne, you can really pair champagne with really anything. It's so crisp.
It's light, crisp, right? Yeah.
Effervescence brings in nuances in the retrohales that you can't pick up elsewhere. Yeah.
But you're right. I haven't tried it, but I can definitely see what you're saying because you can pair really champagne with anything. It's so I'm gonna give it a try after this, man.
Yeah, I've been experimenting. My wife is really into. She's not into the deep reds or any kind of Scotch, bourbon, or rum, but she likes a lot of the white wines and champagnes. And I didn't even know they made this. They make a white wine champagne. There's all these different kinds of white wine, Pinot Grigio champagne. And I sampled some. I'm like, oh, this is really kind of it doesn't I feel like white wine kind of dries your palate out a little bit too much when you pair it with a cigar. But the champagne adds this refreshing component to it that would really go well with a cigar. So
yep.
I don't know. I'm kind of this
where the champagne has a lot of effervescence, you can even dial it back a little bit. You can use Prosecco. It's another good alternative champagne. Yeah. Yep. And you can also use some of the Vino Verdes, which is even dialed down below Prosecco, just a hint of effervescence, which does a similar thing, just not as much as the champagne does.
I find the Prosecco and even the sparkling Prosecco tends to be a little too sweet for my palate.
You've got to find the right ones. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like too much sweetness would not pair well with cigars. So, it's something. It definitely. I'm glad we talked about this because I wanted to mention that to our listeners that I was all about pairing my cigars with champagne over Thanksgiving weekend. So, that's good.
Was there plenty flowing?
There was quite a few bottles of champagne. And then some beer after that. Actually, some lambic ale is a tradition in our household, which doesn't so much pair. It's too tart, I think, to pair with a cigar. But if you've ever had a lambic ale, it's a very bitter beer that they infuse with usually like a raspberry or a peach. It's a really great. I serve it for dessert, and it's really funny. My 90-year-old grandmother. She didn't remember drinking it last year, which, I mean, give her a break. She's 90. But that she had a glass of it, and she's like, that was really good. She's like, now I remember having that, last year. So it's very versatile. I mean, it doesn't matter what you like to drink. If you have a glass of this lambic beer after a big meal, everyone is always impressed. I have people that like never drink beer, and they drink this, and they're like, oh my God, that's awesome. So that's great. And then it transitioned to martinis after that, and then it was just downhill. That's a story for another time.
We're going to need another hour for that one.
Yeah, that's bad. But anyway, Omar, so other than the Oro, is there stuff that you're working on or places you're going to be or anything you want to tell our listeners about?
Yeah, we're gonna have a grand launch of Fratello this Wednesday of the Fratello Oro at Leesburg Cigar and Pipe, which is the first shop to get Oro because of the event that we're gonna have with them. And so I'm really looking forward to that, man. It's we got a busy couple of weeks ahead. I drive down to Richmond and North Carolina next week. I'm going to be in Greenboro, North Carolina, potentially on a Friday. No events in North Carolina, just some visits to our local accounts in that area. We're going to have an event at Roanoke as well. So we've got a lot of things going on, man, right before the holidays. Things that I'm always super proud to make sure that we get a chance to continue to hit the Fratello Road. I mean, it's just that's what we do. And when something is working, keep on doing it. It's one of the hardest actually things to do. People always want to recreate the wheel and want to make things better. I said, it's doing good, man. Keep on doing it.
I've spoken like a true project manager, Omar. I like it. Efficiency.
Right.
I like it. Well, Omar, thank you very much for coming back on the Stogie Geeks show. It was wonderful speaking with you, as always.
Thank you guys for having me. It was awesome. I look forward to coming back again in the future, and keep it smoky, guys, and many blessings, and have an amazing evening, okay?
When you come back here in Rhode Island, I'm going to know who you are. I'm going to recognize you and say, hi, Omar, and give you a big hug. How about that?
Hold you to it, buddy.
Taking a short break. We'll be right back.
Thank you, guys.